Hi, I'm Chris Lethem. Welcome to The Economy and You. Today we'll be interviewing Amber Lethem, who is my guest. Amber has just returned from Atlanta, Georgia, where she works for a company called Southwestern Advantage. Amber, welcome to Think Tech Hawaii.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So Amber, you worked for Southwestern Advantage for about how many years now?
I'm going to my 6th year building my business with Southwestern Advantage.
Okay, well, Southwestern Advantage is a company that you told me about when you were a sophomore in college.
Yes.
And I wasn't too thrilled with the idea. So tell me a little bit about Southwestern, because I think they have an interesting business model, but I can imagine other parents had a lot of the same concerns that I had.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give you all some background about Southwestern Advantage, it is a direct selling organization based out of Nashville, Tennessee. The company started way back in 1855 and began working with college students in 1868. So it's actually the oldest internship in the nation. And
they had college students back in 1868?
Yep, it was actually the Civil War veterans that they started selling Bibles door to door.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so most parents, I think the biggest thing that most parents are skeptical about is the door-to-door nature of our job. So what we do is we teach students how to sell educational resources to families, door-to-door. And the biggest thing for parents is just the safety aspect.
Huge. That's a huge concern for parents. You know, especially our daughters. We don't like the idea of our daughters going around knocking on strange people's doors. We don't know what sort of I don't want to say weird, but some people aren't necessarily friendly to door-to-door salespeople.
That's true. So most of the time, whenever we're placed in sales territories, it's in suburbs of usually upper middle and upper income families. So it's suburbs with families and children, and we always do research on all the school districts ahead of time. But yeah, essentially kids get to learn how to run their own businesses, and I think that's been a great experience.
So how does this recruitment process work? Because somebody approached you, another student approached you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many different ways that students can learn about this opportunity. I heard about it from a classmate of mine named Sam Bast. And it was kind of out of the blue. He had asked me, hey, Amber, and this was in the middle of November, Amber, what are you doing for summer? And I'm just like, well, I'm from Hawaii. I'm going back home to Hawaii. What else would I be doing? And he had mentioned that he had made a pretty good amount of money and earned college credit, and that kind of sparked my interest. And I learned about it from my district sales manager now, Virgie Sanford, and she gave a presentation about it on campus. And it's a 3 to 5 day interview process. And
that's pretty extensive.
It is.
That's almost as long as it takes to get a job working as a flight attendant for one of the airlines.
Yeah, I mean, it requires a lot of maturity, so they really do an intentional job of vetting students through to see, what they've done in the past, that can give the interview confidence that they'll really succeed at doing something so challenging. Not to mention they want to see, examples of maturity and independence, and so it's just kind of learning more about the student as well as giving the student the opportunity to learn more about the program.
So there's a you've got this vetting process.
Sure.
Now what happens when you come out of the vetting process? And let's say they decide that they're going to select you to be one of their salespeople.
Absolutely. So once I heard about this program, it was November, then basically what happened was I began training immediately with my student manager. And every single week we had a training session on success principles, on the tangible things, and what would I say? Like, there's emotional training and then there's the technical training. So a lot of technical sales training, and then the emotional aspect of facing rejection. And then they talk about the entire process. Training it's probably one of arguably the most incredible training in the world, because it has been a company for, it's been around for such a long time.
So now you went through the training.
Yep.
How long was the training program?
So they have campus meetings every week. So it's like weekly, bi-weekly meetings on campus. And then the biggest training session actually occurs in Nashville, Tennessee, where hundreds of students from all across the world, and we work with over 350 campuses, we all meet together, granted different times when people get out of for finals. We all meet for a week-long training sales program. And it's kind of a combination between boot camp and finals week and a pep rally. Just all of 3 of those combined into one.
Wow.
It's incredible. And because what makes this so incredible is you're surrounded with arguably 2,500 of the sharpest, most self-motivated college kids in the planet. And they're all put in one place. And on top of that, our speakers are fantastic. They are incredibly knowledgeable about sales as well as leadership and success principles. I mean, we've had professors literally from universities fly in just to hear our sales tactics and to hear about the lessons that we teach because they're so applicable to anything that they're doing. I would say business professors typically are very, very present there.
Is that right? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
didn't know that they were bringing principals.
Professors. We even have career centers come in too, so it's great.
Okay, so now Southwestern, you say you're selling educational materials,
Yes.
and I'm hoping Zuri's got some images that she can bring up for us on some of the materials that you. Maybe you can speak to some of this.
Yeah, so the school set, that was some of our, it was our software that kids could actually, there were CD-ROMs that students can put into their computers and they could play games. So it's all fun and educational games here. That's actually one of our older products. We've actually now moved forward and started doing some app work. So a lot of the same concepts here, but now we do a lot more apps. So it's actually a learning system that we sell. So there are books, and then there's an app, and then there's also websites. Parents, students, even toddlers and kids like babies can access.
So so you're selling this material, but so now I'm a parent.
Go ahead.
And you interview me, and I'm seeing this material. Okay. So why do I need this stuff?
Why do you need it?
Yeah, why do my kids need this training material?
Sure. So there are a couple reasons. So for instance, with that, with the kids' books, one of the biggest things that parents with smaller children have shared with me is that it's very easy to find fun books in stores that aren't educational, or educational books that really aren't that fun. And so what's really great about these resources is they're designed by educators to be both fun and educational. What's great about these and makes this product so unique is that not only do we have the books where kids can actually practice their word association, then their word recognition, and then their reading. So if you notice the words at the very bottom where students can actually practice reading, they cover up the word next to the animal. But what's great here is that we also have an app that goes alongside with it. And that's really unique because you don't find a lot of books that correlate with apps that are, parent and kid friendly.
And so now the thing that what I saw with this is that this is an opportunity for parents to be a part of the educating process of their kids.
Absolutely.
And that's what parenting is all about, right?
Yeah.
And that's what builds and bonds a great relationship between parents and kids, because that's the fun stuff that parents get to do with their children.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now you tell me. Maybe you could share a little bit about your first year. One of the things that you do is you move in with a host family.
Yeah, we do. So literally what happens in the program is once students complete a week-long training session learning about the sales products and success principles and what have you, we actually move in with a host family. So for me, I moved in with a family out in Michigan, and I also lived with 3 other young women from Georgia Tech. They're from Georgia. And we all were part of this sales internship. And so the living with the host family aspect of it, that was great because it was nice to come home to a family at the end of the day. But a majority of the day, I honestly was out of the house at 6:15 in the morning, and I wouldn't really get home till after 9:30, 9:45.
And as your father, I was not allowed to call you during the week.
It kind of kills the momentum. But it was great because, what that allowed me to do was I think one of the biggest things I learned is not having to call you in the middle of the day enabled me to, work such long hours by myself and really do something on my own.
And you work long hours. So you work 12, 14-hour days.
Yeah, I start knocking on doors around no later than 8 a.m. and I don't usually finish my last call until after 9:30 at night.
Yeah, wow, that's a long day.
Yeah, but that's, it's intentionally designed to be difficult. Whereas most people, this company, Southwestern's been around for so long, they easily could have created a 24-week internship. Their students worked 40 hours a week. But, one of the best examples I like to give students, or the analogy is that it's the difference between a walk and a run. If you were to walk 5 miles, you're going to get a workout, but when you run 5 miles, you literally tap into different muscles that you otherwise wouldn't have. So in this case, as someone who worked 80 hours a week, on average 82, 83 hours a week, I literally was able to develop my threshold physically, just my physical endurance. And then there's a mental tenacity that was also developed. And then emotional IQ, I guess they call it EQ now these days, where I was learning a lot more about myself and how to engage with people and be more, I guess, perseverant.
But that first year is the toughest.
Yes. Oh, I would definitely argue that it is definitely the hardest year. But now I would definitely say it's the hardest.
Yeah.
Different responsibilities.
Right. But now you told me this year,
yeah,
sales was the easiest part of your job.
Yeah.
Now that you've been doing it for a number of years, you've got a lot of other people that work under you.
Yeah.
And so the management has become more challenging than the sales part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. The leadership aspect of it, it's a different level of growth. It's completely different. So sales is definitely easier. I mean, practice makes perfect.
So rejection's one of the hardest things to get.
Still stings.
Still stings?
Yeah, on occasion it does.
Yeah. But when you go into a home and you're talking to a family, now you start working cold leads and then you start working referrals and developing a warm lead program.
Somewhat. I mean, it's all mostly going to be cold calling.
Okay.
I consider any warm referrals, any warm leads to be bonus. So, yeah, I just consider that to be bonus. We do have our own little Facebook business pages where families can reach out to us there, set up an appointment. We're families who I've met already before, who've taken photos with me.
So how do you get your leads? How do you know these kids? I mean, how do you find them?
So, I mean, honestly, again, it's all cold calling. It's all cold calling. So literally, they give me a map and they tell me what school I'm going to be working in and school district that is. Granted, we do not work directly with the schools. That's something I always like to preface. But I introduce myself and say, hi, my name's Amber. I'm the young lady, going over a learning system to help students save time with schoolwork in the fall. And then if it sounds like something that families would want to check into, then that's great. And if not, it's really not a big deal. But as so
are you working the phone? Are you
no,
making calls?
it's all door to door.
It's all door to door.
It's all door to door.
That's really tough.
It is really tough, but that's probably the best part about the job. It's you were just talking about the rejection aspect of it. I mean, that's arguably the most important part about the job. And I mean, again, we've been around for so long, we could have changed the sales process, but we as a company really stand for character development. And we just find that that's where the most amount of characters develop. So it's all door to door. And, when you're in an area I'm usually there for about 3 months or so. But when you're meeting 30 to 40 people a day, moms and dads and kids talk. They're like, did you talk to that? There was a girl who stopped by earlier talking about it. And so word spreads around. So by the end of the summer, week 8, 9, people know who you are. I mean, they're literally like, oh, you're Amber the book girl. Like, yeah, come on in here. So that's when the job gets fun, is when you've developed a lot of great relationships, genuine great relationships with the people there. So, yeah.
Yeah, now, so you're living with a host family. Now, how does the host family, how do you adapt to that? I mean,
sure.
Do they feed you? Do you have to cook your own food? Do you, like...
Yeah, I mean, the host families do, and they have a really important job, is honestly, they just provide us with a place to sleep and a place to put our things at night and a place to, shower. And that's basically just, the most basic living needs, because all of our time is spent away, working or doing training sessions on Sundays or doing something fun in the area.
Oh, okay.
So really, there's very little responsibility for the host families. We pay them, great rent, just to, rent out a room. But I mean, it's been really bonus when I come home and there are brownies or cookies made for me. I remember one time when I came home and my first host family, the Lindners, they had 2 sons, and I came home to them, and it was one was 6 and 9, and they were talking about the black and the brown squirrels, and it was just good to come home to a family and not feel like I was, not part of the community. And so it made me feel kind of at home, even though I wasn't here home in Hawaii.
That's great. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a short commercial break.
Sure.
And then what we're going to do, we're going to come back and we're going to talk a little bit more about the sales process.
Sounds great.
So stay tuned for more. I'm Chris Lethem with The Economy and You, and we'll be right back. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Justina Spiritu, and I'm the co-host of Hawaii Farmers Series. This is my co-host, Matthew Johnson, and you can catch us every Thursday at 4 p.m. at thinktechhawaii.com. What do we talk about, Matt?
So on Hawaii Farmers Series, we're going to be bringing on the farmers and also supporter of farmers, including restaurants, caterers, as well as government supporters and nonprofits, to hear their background stories and understanding our local ag community just a little bit better.
Yeah, essentially, there's a lot more that goes into farming and the local food community beyond just producing the food. And we want to feature and get the background story on all these folks and see how we all work together as a community. So join us every Thursday. Aloha.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, asking you to come join us on Think Tech Hawaii Hibachi Talk. Join me and my two hosts, Gordo the Tech Czar and Ender the Security Guy, every Friday from 12:45 till 13:45. See you on Fridays, and remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Lethem, and this is The Economy and You. And today my guest is my lovely daughter, Amber Lethem, who's here from Atlanta, Georgia. She works for a company called Southwestern. Southwestern is a company that sells educational books for children.
Yes, a learning system.
A
Books,
learning system.
websites, apps.
Okay, so now you started this, we talked about your first year. That was a tough year.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about what it takes to build this into a long-term business.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
so how does that where do you begin and how do you start to develop structure for this?
Sure. So the first thing I always share with students, your first summer, if you want to be a great leader, first and foremost, you must learn how to lead yourself. So the first summer really is a great starting point for any student in any internship to develop success principles that they exercise on their own. So that's the first step, is learning how to lead yourself, because you can't lead other people.
Well, you talked about one of the skill sets is learning to be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Sure. So my very first summer doing this internship program, I started working at 8 in the morning and didn't stop till after 9:30 at night, Monday through Saturday. And every single day I would always take my cell phone and then I'd turn it off and stick it in the trunk, and absolutely no phone calls from anybody. So what that means to be my own cheerleader is that through the day, as I faced rejection,
Yes.
I mean, if I made 30 to 40 cold calls a day, and I got maybe 1 to 2 yeses in a day, that means I had to face, upwards, 30-something no's. And so being my own cheerleader means that I learned to encourage myself. One of the things I realized is that how people are so dependent on external things to give themselves support. So anytime I went through a breakup or maybe had a rough day at school or didn't do so well on a test, it was very, we all pull out our cell phones, we call mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, auntie, uncle to make ourselves feel better. So the biggest lesson I learned here was not to do that, not to call anybody else, but to rely on my own cheerleading.
So you had to learn to
encourage myself.
Encourage that inner voice in yourself.
Yep.
To say something nice to you and positive.
Yeah, because it's one thing to get, you or mom or my sister or my friends to say, Amber, you can definitely do it. But I think it's completely different. And this was the most important thing I learned. If I could give back my paycheck to Southwestern for this lesson, I definitely would. But the biggest and most important lesson I learned was literally how to keep going, especially when there was no one else around. So yeah, my ego no longer depends on anything external, but my confidence comes wholeheartedly from within. I think that's really, really
That's an important lesson.
incredibly important, especially for people my age today.
Yes.
Young adults today, the millennials.
You see a lot of people that have already, even at your age, already throwing up their hands, feeling frustrated with where their life is going, and they don't feel like they're making any success or progress in life.
Yeah,
They feel like it's all sort of preordained, and the system is set up to impede any kind of success that they might have in life.
Yeah, not only that, but I also think that, especially, I don't think students are given as many opportunities or maybe take advantages of the opportunities that they have to develop, what we call EQ, which is, emotional strength or emotional knowledge of learning to be your own cheerleader, learning how to face challenges with a positive attitude, facing fear and what have you. So, yeah.
So now how do you, so to talk a little bit about the structure. So you get through the first year, and you want to do this long term, and you want to have financial success as well as you're learning all these wonderful things. But ultimately, if you're a college student, you want to have money while you're going to college, right?
Absolutely. So after your first summer, after you finish your first summer with Southwestern, you then get interviewed again. It's not just given to anyone. But then if they feel like you have leadership potential and you've also done well in the program, they're going to invite you back to come and learn to develop leadership skills, and then also get a chance to mentor students younger than you or below you. Because while you learn so much doing the job itself, you learn a lot more when you teach someone else how to do it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you can teach it, you know it. When you can teach it, you know that you know it.
Exactly. And so basically, just time and time again, you just go back to, all right, you do the job well, and then and then you teach others how to do it. And even then my second summer, getting a chance to do this, and then having students below me who I've mentored, getting them watch them grow. And also, we all make mistakes in the process, so then we learn from the mistakes, we learn from the good things and the bad things, and then you just kind of keep going with it.
But that's what your mentor was doing too, is to help you sort of guide you through some of the challenges that you were having.
Exactly.
And so now that you're working with other students, what do you find is some of the most difficult challenges day to day, working with other students and also in the recruiting process? That must be challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the hardest aspect is, it's rejection. It's always going to be, sales is, it's working the numbers, so there's a sense of rejection in that aspect, which you develop that muscle for. And then the other thing I find to be really challenging is students don't oftentimes have the courage to face failure. That is probably the biggest thing is the fear of failing. And I find that many successful people in the world, Barbara Corcoran, the gentleman who did Tresemme, they say that facing rejection is so vital to their career because it teaches you resilience. So I just find that for me, one of the hardest things is as a recruiter or as someone who works with students is kids don't like to put themselves in positions that can cause failure because they don't have the confidence to boost themselves back up again. So that's probably one of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, sure.
So what I love doing and what I appreciate about my job is getting a chance to, talk about things that can give students confidence about themselves and and the value of failing and the value of getting back up again.
So what kind of students do you look for? You're not just talking to anybody and everybody, right?
Yeah.
You're looking for students who have a certain
qualifications. Sure. So there are a few things that I really look for. The biggest thing is, track record of self-motivation. Students who have ultimately done things in their past that show, maybe it's sports or academic excellence or leadership positions, but mostly that's the first thing, track record of self-motivation. Second thing is independence. I look for students who know the difference between asking mom and dad for permission versus support. Because I think that, it's important to ask mom and dad for their advice on certain things, but this is also a stepping stone to being an independent decision maker.
Now, I love this photo here. This is a little girl. Now, this, at the end of the summer, when you sell the books, is you actually go around and deliver the books to all the kids.
I do. I get to play Santa Claus for an entire week and a half. It's great. It's really, really, really fun. This is I remember she had two actually little siblings. They were twins, a boy and a girl. And it was just really great to deliver the books and show mom and dad how to use those books. So.
And you show the parents how to use the books and interact with their own children.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a doll. She's such a cutie.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, that looks just
That was
wonderful.
out this past summer in just north of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yeah, it was up in Mequon.
Oh, really? Okay,
yep.
Well.
Great state.
It looks like there's lots of interesting books there, too.
Yeah, they got the entire kids package there.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we look for students who work hard, who can make their own decisions, and who are really coachable. Part of being coachable is getting a chance to interact with great families like that.
So learning
operating with integrity.
Because there's a difference between listening and waiting to speak.
Yes.
Yes, and a lot of times you find when you're working with young people, they're just waiting to speak. They're not always.
And that's my growth as a leader, is learning how to listen actively and then teaching them to listen actively as well. I find that, that's another fun picture. So getting a chance to teach students how to listen. And that's what they learned, by talking to so many families in a day.
Yes.
They eventually start to kind of catch on to that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Absolutely. That was a fun summer as well. That was out in Trenton, Michigan. That was from my 4th summer.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a cutie.
Yeah, that was a great family. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was actually Grandma spoiled her niece and her nephew.
Oh, really?
Books. Yep. Grandma wanted to get the books for them.
So that doesn't have to be the parents.
No, absolutely. Aunts, uncles. I've even caught somebody who didn't have kids, but they're going to a birthday party that day. They're like, oh, I could actually use some books. Like,
okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now the books. So let's talk about the when you go in and you interview a family. What is that process like when you're talking to a family? Because you come in cold. They don't know you.
Sure.
You've just knocked on their door.
Yeah.
And I let you in my door. Now what?
Well, first and foremost is definitely just building rapport and getting a chance to introduce myself to them and what I'm doing. I always reiterate that. But mostly it's consultative selling. So a lot of the discussion is mostly me asking questions. So what you were just talking about earlier about listening and learning to, the difference between waiting to speak. I would argue that that's probably the biggest, that's actually where students learn that and subconsciously they don't realize it, but it's a lot of asking questions. And then once I get to know the kids or mom and dad and kind of their situation, I show them, what kind of fits that need. Because all sales really is it's finding a need, and then it's filling it with what you have available for that.
Well, and when you do that, when you're talking to parents, what kind of questions are you asking them?
I like to ask them about, how well their students are. I always ask them, hey, is it okay if I ask, maybe the kid, usually I like to interact with the kids, but it's always asking how well they do in school, A's, B's, BC's, alphabet soup, This is a fun one. I've definitely had some kids who are like alphabet soup. I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then I ask them, okay, well, what are the subjects that you really enjoy or that are your best ones, and what are the ones that aren't so great? And then from there, the kids or parents can kind of share about them. And oftentimes the big thing is the Common Core and those crazy new math methods, which as someone, I look at what the kids are doing these days and I'm like, that's crazy, And then I also, ask them about their homework load, the activities.
The math is crazy.
The math is, it's just different.
The way they teach it is different.
It's just different. I'm really lucky I've actually read through and I learned how to do it. But it is.
Well, that's the point of the book though, right? That is the point of the books, is that parents can learn how to use the material in a way and understand how they're being taught, the children are being taught these subjects today in school, so they can participate in tutoring their children.
Yep, exactly. So one of the biggest needs I find with parents is that, it's been a decade or so since they've been back in school. So when they're looking at these derivatives and integrals or even fractions, they're like, oh dear.
Right.
Let me reread
all
this.
Yeah, like I remember all that stuff as a parent, right? You're like, I knew I passed the work when I was in, I used to know this. But it's like, are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Right.
Once your kids get past the fifth grade, all of a sudden you find yourself trying to, relearn new material.
Exactly.
So that you can participate in helping your kids with their homework.
Yeah, and it's not that parents aren't smart. It's just, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And so that's a big need I find whenever I meet with families is, do mom and dad actually still help you out these days or not so much? And oftentimes kids are like, no.
Or they may have an auntie or an uncle or somebody that they call for help now, because mom and dad have thrown up their arms and they're just like, of course, parents sometimes don't want to say they don't know the material.
They don't ever want to say that.
Yeah. I know it, but I'm busy right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the biggest needs. And then it also gives students the tools to develop independent study habits. So, what's great here is rather than, hey, mom and dad, can you help me with this? If they're maybe in middle school now, mom can say, well, why don't you go and look up the answer yourself first? And if not, then I'll come and help you.
See, that's what I used to do, right? I used to say, well, you figure it out. You'll be all right.
What are you talking about, Dad?
So this is really great, and you've been doing this for a number of years now.
Yeah.
Maybe you could share some of the interesting stories, like you caught mom with a 3-year-old once that just coming home from the store or something you were telling me about earlier.
Yeah, I've had so once oh my gosh. Yeah, in Michigan, this was my very first summer. I had caught a mom as she was driving home from shopping, and her 3-year-old son gets out, and I kind of introduced myself. Mom is really cool. She's like, yeah, that sounds kind of neat. And as I'm kind of in the middle talking with her, her son is out on the lawn, yelling around with his hands up in the air, pants down, peeing all over the lawn in this really beautiful subdivision. And it was just, doing this job, this is just an incredibly crazy job. You see so many different kinds, you have so many different kinds of experiences. Working with the Amish out in my 3rd summer out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yes, you worked with the Amish.
Yeah.
Now, working with the Amish they have a very different paradigm about educate when it comes to education, is that right?
Not only about education, but their entire life is totally different. And it was a really humbling and really unique experience. How many people from Hawaii can say that they've actually met people who are Amish? And so getting a chance to interact with hundreds of Amish people over this summer was great. Learning about, their education system typically only goes up to the 8th grade, and then from there they get involved with like farming and agriculture work.
So they quit at 8th grade, school's over.
From the community I worked in, there was no education after that.
And these are Pennsylvania
Dutch.
So it was
in Pittsburgh, just north, like around New Wilmington area.
Okay.
And that was really interesting.
But when you work with them, if you go and you visit with them, they don't actually use light bulbs. They're still using candles.
Yeah, there was one evening where I drove out and it was a late night appointment, and I get there, I shut off the car lights, and it was pitch black. It was really beautiful because I get out of my car and it's sky, like stars everywhere in the sky, and I get into the house. They're like, oh yeah, we were waiting for you, and here I am doing the sales presentation by candlelight. Like, incredible experience. It was great. It was one for the books for sure. So that was a really great experience too, because we didn't sell just educational resources. We also have Bible story books that we'll share with Amish families.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we really cater a lot.
Well, we're going to go to one more commercial break, and we'll be right back. I'm Chris Lethem, and today's guest is Amber Lethem, my daughter. And stay tuned for our last segment. Aloha. Thank you.
Okay, this is Think Tech Hawaii, and it's Wednesday. Every Wednesday is Energy Wednesday here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. 4 to 5 p.m. every Wednesday. Come and listen to us. And just to show you what I mean, I'm going to ask Sharon to tell us more.
Come and see us every Wednesday, as Jay said. And we have people like Jim Albers from HECO here and co-host Ray Starling here every Wednesday. We not only go on Olelo and OC16, but also stream live. So please come visit us, hear about the latest in clean energy.
Okay, Jim, you've been here. You got any comment on all this?
As important as energy is in all of our lives today, this is a great forum and a great format to vet those issues. So I encourage everybody to listen in and participate.
Okay, Ray, what do you think for a close?
Well, I think this is the greatest show in the energy world here in Hawaii. You can come here every week, 1 hour, and catch the latest on what's happening and hear from the people who really know what's going on, like Jim Alberts. We appreciate your coming today.
Thank you.
Ray Starling, Sharon Moriwaki, Jim Alberts, and Jay Fidel here in Hawaii, the state of clean energy. 4 to 5
Aloha.
p.m. Wednesday. Aloha.
Aloha.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Lethem, and this is The Economy and You. My guest today is Amber Lethem, and we are talking about her experiences working with a company called Southwestern. And the reason we're talking about this is because Southwestern continues to recruit college kids around the United States and around the world to work in their mentoring program, internship program to help kids develop sales skills and success skills.
Yes.
So when you talk about success skills, let's talk a little bit about that, because really this is a company that's built around a paradigm of success, and they're teaching these principles and skills. So let's talk about a little bit about some of these. So for example, the difference between doing what's right versus doing what's easy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about self-discipline. You know, so one of my favorite quotes from, I think maybe you all might know of an alumni named Rory Vaden. He recently wrote the book, Procrastinate on Purpose. He's also a New York Times bestselling author. I can't believe Take the Stairs.
Take the Stairs.
Yes, Take the Stairs. And you know, one of the biggest things that he discusses is it's about doing the things that's right, or things that you should be doing over what naturally feels good. So for instance, you know, one of the biggest commitments I made is no matter what, I always do 30 demonstrations a day. And I don't ever end my day until after 9:31 p.m. Pretty interesting, because most people are like, well, why 9:31?
Yes.
Well, it's because it's a no matter what. So there was one instance where I looked at my watch, and it was 9:27 at night. And a part of me was like, oh, but it's so close to 9:30. I could easily call it a day. And I had done about 32 presentations or so. And, you know, I look at my watch. That's a lot in a day. From 8 a.m. to 9:30. So, I mean, I was exhausted. And I just remember being like, you know what, Amber, I can either compromise. You know, I could make a compromise. No one would know about it. No one would know about it.
But you would know.
Because it's just me. But I would know.
Yes.
So that was probably one of the most defining moments of my life, and definitely of my career, is learning to choose to do what is right instead of what was easy. So I got up and I went to the next door and I knocked on the door, and I did my approach. They weren't interested. I thanked them for the time, and as I left, it was 9:32 at night. I could then end my day.
Okay.
You know, so choosing to do, it was a moment of self-discipline. And so because I built that habit, and because I never compromised, that's something that, you know, you continue to build a habit on, and self-discipline, anytime you do something that's right over what's easy, then you're going to find, you know, private, you know, they say public success, or private victories precede public success.
Well, this also goes to the idea of impressing yourself before you try to impress other people.
Sure.
You know, I tell the story about my stepfather one time. Working on the back of a picture frame, and he was sanding, and it was the back of the picture frame, and he was sanding, he was looking at it, he was checking the edges and making sure it was smooth, it was level. And I came in there and I watched him work on it, and I looked at him and I said, why are you working so hard on the back of the picture frame? Nobody will know what that looks like. He said, I'll know what that looks like. You know, so I think that when you have those sort of successes, or you set that self-discipline for yourself, then what you're doing is you're building confidence in your own ability to stay focused and keep working.
Yep.
Now, what are some of the other important principles that you think you've gained working with Southwestern?
Oh, man, there's so many success principles.
And you've also learned a lot of technical knowledge, too. I mean, you've learned a lot about making a presentation.
The entire sales process,
Yes.
definitely. But I definitely would say that a lot of a lot more importantly of what I've learned has always been the success principles. It's all been about character development. So that's like one principle. We do what is right instead of what's easy. We also have a positive attitude. I mean, one of the biggest things coming out of the program, I didn't realize how negative people are, these days until I started doing something. So one of the biggest things that I've learned to do is positive affirmations. A powerhouse phrase that I've developed is I'm strong, steady, safe, and selfless. And any times where I'm really frustrated about something, it's like, no, Amber, choose to be strong right now. Choose to be selfless. So it's choosing to have an optimistic attitude, no matter how crazy the circumstances might be. I mean, one time, which you may have heard about, it was when I, crashed, got my Jeep stuck in a ditch. And
I'm sorry, it wasn't your Jeep.
It was your Jeep.
My Jeep.
Whoops.
Yes.
But learning to have a positive attitude of like, you know what, all right, I'm going to figure this out. Or it would be a rainy day and, you can either choose to focus on it's cold, I can't feel my fingers, and it sucks, and no one's talking to me, or I can say, you know what, it's raining outside. What a beautiful day it is, and I'm choosing to really love the fact that like it's wet and it's awesome, and it's just like I don't know, it washes the day away. I always think about how it washes anything bad going on the day before. So
No, so if you were going to recruit somebody and you were going to talk to somebody, or somebody was interested in working with you, how would they get a hold of you if they are interested in working for a company like Southwestern?
Well, they can always go to southwesternadvantage.com, and there's a site, a little box there where you can input your own contact information, and then from there, we'll actually connect you to like campus recruiters and campus leaders who are nearest to you, and then they can talk to you one-on-one about the opportunity.
So have you ever had a parent call up and say, get my kid into your program?
Yeah, actually I have. I've had people, it's actually mostly through the Southwestern Consulting, parents who go attend one of our other companies that we've created, Southwestern Consulting. A lot of parents go to that. So that's where parents and actually adults get to learn these principles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so a lot of their parents, the parents will be like, well, I want my son to hear about this, or I want my daughter to hear about this. And then they'll actually reach out to the internship program and connect their kids to it. But yeah, I mean, when parents do that, I immediately, I'm always excited to talk about the program because it's changed my life drastically. So why not give other students the opportunity to change their own?
Well, I see how hard you work. I know how hard you work when you're during the summer, because I'm not allowed to call except on Sundays.
Yeah.
And so if you were going to talk to a student about why they should join Southwestern, what's some of the key reasons why they should join and get involved in working with you?
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is, honestly, it's the experience, the work experience. You develop, technical knowledge that really sets yourself apart from most other students. I mean, people, the typical internships are things that are like, administrative work or lifeguarding or retail or restaurant. So I like the fact that this job really separates students from the work from their pool.
And there's been some actually celebrity types that work for Southwestern.
I've had some really notable alumni, absolutely.
And maybe drop a few names.
I don't know if you all might be familiar with Monica Lewinsky.
Oh, Monica
No,
Lewinsky.
I'm kidding. Okay, so she's not alumni with the program, but Ken Starr, the gentleman who prosecuted Bill Clinton as a result of that scandal, he is actually alumni with our program. Fun fact, he's the president of my alma mater, Baylor University, so sick 'em Bears. That's another one, Marsha Blackburn, one of the first, I think she's arguably the first female congresswoman. She's out of Tennessee. John Yarbrough, he recently sold his company. He's one of the newest millionaires. Sold, I believe it's called YGT out of Franklin, Tennessee. It was like an arcade company. Rory Vaden, New York Times bestselling author, like I mentioned before. Max Lucado, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants' best friend, Patrick Starr. So that's Bill. I think his name is Bill Fagerback. So he's alumni with our program. I mean, there's so many people I could talk about. I mean, we've had 4 self-made millionaires come out of our program. Governor Rick Perry of Texas. So yeah, lots of people have come out of our program. But one of the things I share with college students is, they literally were people just like you and me who applied the principles that we taught them in Southwestern, and they just applied it to what they're passionate about.
So what do you see as your future? What do you see? What does this do for you, Amber, going forward? And I mean, whether you stay with Southwestern for the life of your working career, or you decide to go on to other things, what do you see going forward for yourself?
I guess in regards to what I plan to do with what I've learned.
Yes.
I mean, At the end of the day, it's really going to be just about being the best possible version of myself, whether it's with Southwestern Advantage or with a new company maybe that I start or with a company here in Hawaii. It's applying, things like how to consistently give more than anyone else, how to ask, pushing that threshold, having a positive attitude, especially when I don't feel like it. That's probably what I would argue is that how I'm gonna walk forward with this is I'm honestly gonna strive with intention to be the best version of myself day in and day out. Little acts of self-discipline, like going running in the morning, especially if I don't feel like it. But in Southwestern Advantage, I know that definitely for the next few years, I really want to continue to build great college students and change people's lives because of how much it's done for me.
That's, and as a father who was very concerned about your going to work for this company.
Sure.
Because I felt like that the company was a bit intrusive. Initially, they were taking my little girl away from me. Instead of coming home for the summer, they were having you go work somewhere.
Yeah.
And, we were all, as parents, we all suffer from empty nest syndrome. So we want our kids to come back home, most of us want our kids to come back home
Sure.
in the summertime and spend time with you. And, sort of felt like we were losing some of that. But at the same time, I've seen growth in you. I've seen you, your confidence, your self-discipline, your desire to be successful. And I think the one thing that I get out of this is it's really about excellence.
Yes.
It's not about making a lot of money. The money
It's
is
bonus.
a byproduct.
Yeah.
Is a byproduct of excellence and success and your hard work.
Absolutely.
And that's really what Southwestern seems to be striving for.
Yes, it's all about helping us to refine, the best leaders on the planet.
So that's pretty cool. And if we've got any more pictures, if we could, I don't know if we've got any more photos of Southwestern, but here's the Earth and Space.
Oh, that's the Explore and Learn
materials.
set, some of our products. Yeah, that's a great series. It's project books for kids. We've got Earth, science, technology, history, and literally it brings, learning to life in this series right here.
Now, do you carry these with you, or do you?
We carry sample books with us. So we carry typically one or like a combination of multiple books in one. And that's how we kind of show parents kind of a taste of what we have. Student leaders get the opportunity to carry the actual products themselves and deliver them on the spot.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, student leaders. But the first years, because their main focus is just making sure they make the sales and just helping them to just focus on that rather than the whole concept of delivering. It just
Well, yeah, because then you're carrying books around with you if you're
Yeah,
delivering,
we
right?
want to.
Yeah.
So.
And it's more than enough for them just to be able to go out and knock on doors, let alone having to carry a bunch of materials around.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, the sales is just the vehicle where these students get to be refined. That's all.
Now, how would somebody get a hold of you, Amber, if they wanted to talk to you
Personally,
directly
if they
about
wanted to work with me
Southwestern?
directly, well, they could go find me facebook.com/Amber the Book Girl Lethem. That's
So
like
they
my
can go to the search bar and type in Amber the Book Girl.
Facebook, Amber the Book Girl, and then my last name Lethem.
Lethem,
They can
Lethem.
always email me personally if they'd like to at ajlethem@gmail.com. That's a pretty
And
simple
AJ
one.
Lethem is Lethem.
Yes.
Okay.
Or they can, find me on LinkedIn.
Or on LinkedIn. They can look for you there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And they can also, if they are just looking to find out more information, can they go to the
SouthwesternAdvantage.com.
SouthwesternAdvantage.com.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Amber, it was great to have you on my show. It's the first
Thank
time
you
you've
for
done a
having me.
TV interview. So
Thank you for having me.
I think you did a wonderful job.
As did you. Thanks, Dad.
Well, I'm Chris Lethem. This is The Economy and You. And thank you for watching today. And it was great to have you on Think Tank Hawaii, Amber.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Have a great day.
Okay, all right.